Hi, this is Storm, and welcome back. It's been a strange old week, but I've been in contact with some very interesting people on social media. I've been talking to someone from the United States who reached out to talk about their paranormal experiences at their home. The paranormal activity within their home is very real, and I am left with no doubt about its authenticity. I was going to do a video on that, but due to unforeseen circumstances, that is not possible at this moment in time. However, I have been meaning to talk about another major haunting that took place in the UK. In one of my previous videos, I talked about East Drive in Pontefract and how a poltergeist affected a normal everyday home and young family. It makes it a much more scarier prospect, as we all tend to relate hauntings to big mansions, castles and historic locations. This next haunting was very similar to what took place at East Drive. This too took place in an average council estate home on 284 Green Street in Brimsdown, Enfield in the UK. Just looking at the most up-to-date image of this semi-detached house here, it doesn't stand out as being haunted, so you could be forgiven for walking straight past it without a second thought. What I find interesting is that a school is situated straight opposite. I'm sure all the children are too young to realise that the most haunted UK home is straight outside the front gates to the school, but I bet the parents look across from time to time and think about what occurred here. I also zoomed back out just out of interest to see what's nearby, and I was surprised to see a cemetery so close by. I never knew that. Could that be linked in some way to the haunting of 284 Green Street, or just be mere coincidence? Also noticed a zebra crossing leading up to the entrance of the home, much like an invitation to another dimension. I know that last bit was just something that crossed my great imagination, and of course the school and the road crossing wasn't around back in 1977 to 1979 when this all took place. Back in 1977, the Hodgson family, including mother Peggy, daughters Margaret aged 13, Janet aged 11, and sons Johnny and Billy, encountered the start of something otherworldly in their seemingly normal semi-detached home. It was reported that it all started with beds and a chest of drawers moving about on their own. Initially, Peggy thought Janet and Margaret were messing about, until one evening she moved a heavy oak chest of drawers back into place and then saw it move back towards the door by some invisible force. You can imagine how scary that would have been, like some supernatural force was trying to trap them in the room. And how powerful could this unseen force be to move such heavy furniture? Peggy, in fear, went to a neighbour's house to get them to witness what was going on. Neighbours Vic and Peggy Nottingham also heard unexplained noises with no identifiable source. Noises included loud knocking, could be heard everywhere in the house, even on the walls and ceilings. At that moment, the police were also called in to investigate, and again, the noises continued, but they could not trace the source. WPC Carolyn Heaps even saw a chair move across the room by around 4 feet. The police couldn't find any explanation and soon left, telling the family that this wasn't a police matter and so couldn't assist any further. Things escalated fast, with the press then getting involved. UK national paper, the Daily Mirror, visited the family home, with Graham Morris, a photographer, taking pictures and witnessing the chaos taking place. It's reported he saw objects moving around, people screaming, and some pictures he took of Janet showing distortion from some unknown interference. The BBC TV crew also went to the Hodgson's home to document evidence, but found their tape equipment had been damaged and all recordings erased. It wasn't long until the Hodgsons looked for further help from experts in this field. Investigators Maurice Gross and Guy Leon Playfair were next in line to try and seek out the truth. It was apparent that the Hodgsons' home was in chaos and the family was living in fear. Maurice Gross experienced paranormal activity in the home straight away. This included a t-shirt which flew off a table surface in the kitchen to the other side of the room. Marbles and Lego pieces were also flung across the room, and to touch felt hot as though moved by some form of energy. They also witnessed the poltergeist activity, moving furniture around the home and becoming more sinister and powerful. One day, Maurice and a neighbour found one of the children in a state of panic, unable to move, as though gripped by invisible hands. Maurice and the neighbour had to wrestle the child free from the grip of an unseen force. Most of the activity seemed to centre around Janet. As the activity increased, it was reported that Janet was at times possessed by the spirit of Bill Wilkins. Bill Wilkins had died in the same house only 7 years earlier before the Hodgsons moved in. Janet began to speak at times in a deep gruff of a voice, like she was possessed. It was reported while speaking in this deep voice, she gave information about Bill dying in an armchair in the living room, suffering from a hemorrhage. How could she have possibly known this? Quite remarkable for a child with limited resources to go to such lengths to research and make up this story, all the while pretending to be possessed and speaking in a voice that seemed abnormal. Could Bill Wilkins have been using Janet as a vessel to communicate fully with the living? I believe that is quite possible. The activity mainly focused around Janet, and her trance-like states became more common. Family members even saw her levitate and float across the room. Things got worse, and one day she was found by her mother Peggy being strangled with a curtain wound around her neck. Peggy had to use all her strength to rip away the curtain from Janet. Janet even spent a short while at Maudsley Psychiatric Hospital in London so they could carry out further tests, but all tests proved normal. As time went by, after all of this intense activity, the incident seemed to quieten down in the autumn of 1978, although poltergeist occurrences did not entirely stop, and noises and items being moved around still continued. Here are some of Janet's own words. She told Channel 4, "I felt used by a force that nobody understands. I really don't like to think about it too much. I'm not sure the poltergeist was truly evil. It was almost as if it wanted to be part of our family. It didn't want to hurt us. It had died there and wanted to be at rest. The only way it could do that was to communicate through me and my sister." Some cast doubts on the events, however. 2 SPR experts caught the children bending spoons themselves and questioned why no one was allowed in the same room as Janet when she was using her gruff voice, apparently that of Bill Wilkins. Indeed, Janet admitted that they fabricated some of the occurrences. She told ITV News in 1980, "Oh yeah, once or twice with fake phenomena, just to see if Mr. Gross and Mr. Playfair would catch us. They always did." Now aged 48, Janet lives in Essex with her husband, a retired milkman. She said, "I wasn't very happy to hear about the film. I didn't know anything about it. My dad had just died, and it really upset me to think all of this was being raked over again." She describes the poltergeist activity as traumatic. "It was an extraordinary case. It's one of the most recognised cases of paranormal activity in the world. But, for me, it was quite daunting. I think it really left its mark. The activities, the newspaper attention, the different people in and out of our house. It wasn't a normal childhood." Asked how much of the phenomena at Green Street was faked, she says, "I'd say about 2%. She also admitted playing with a Ouija board with her sister just before the activity flared up at the house. She said she was unaware that she went into trances until she was shown pictures. "I recall being very distressed by the photos when I was a child. I was very upset. I knew when the voices were happening, of course. It felt like something was behind me all of the time. They did all sorts of tests, filling my mouth with water and so on, but the voices still came out. She says, "It was hard. I had a short spell in a Maudsley psychiatric hospital in London where they stuck electrodes on my head, but the test proved normal. The levitation was scary because you didn't know where you were going to land. I remember the curtain being wound around my neck. I was screaming. I thought I was going to die. My mum had to use all of her strength to rip it away. The man who spoke through me, Bill, seemed angry because we were in his house. The situation had a huge effect on the family." Janet says, "I was bullied at school. They called me Ghost Girl and put crane flies down my back. I dread going home. The front door would be open. There'd be people in and out. You didn't know what to expect, and I used to worry a lot about my mum. She had a nervous breakdown in the end. I'm not one for living in the past. I want to move on. But it does come to me now and again. I dream about it, and then it affects me. I think, why did it happen to us?" Her brother was called Freak Boy from the ghost house, and people would spit at him in the street. Janet herself was on the front page of the Daily Star with a headline, "Possessed by the Devil." She left home at 16 and married young. She says, "I lost touch with everything, all the coverage of the case in paranormal books. My mum felt like people walked all over her at the time. She felt exploited." Shortly after the press attention, it seems like a curse had taken over. It's such a sad story that continued. Janet's younger brother, Johnny, died of cancer, aged just 14 years old. Janet's mother then developed breast cancer, dying in 2003, and Janet suffered the loss of her own son in his sleep when he was just 18 years old. It is such a sad story. She rejects any suggestion that the whole family faked this in pursuit of money or fame. "I didn't want to bring it up again while my mum was alive, but now I want to tell my story. I don't care whether people believe me or not. I went through this and it was true." Asked whether she believes the house is still haunted, she says, "Years later, when my mum was alive, there was always a presence there, something watching over you. As long as people don't meddle the way that we did with Ouija boards, it is quite settled. It is a lot calmer than when I was a child. It is at rest, but will always be there." Janet reports that it was a priest's visit to Green Street that resulted in the incidents quietening down in autumn 1978. Although the occurrences did not stop entirely, she says, with her mother continuing to hear noises all around the house. Janet says, "Even my brother, until the day he left that place after Mum died, would say, 'There's still something here.' You'd feel like you're being watched." Janet said she continues to believe in a poltergeist, saying, "It lived off me, off my energy. Call me mad if you like. Those events did happen. The poltergeist was with me, and I feel that in a sense he will always be there." So then, who lives at 284 Green Street now? After Peggy Hodgson died, Claire Bennett and her 4 sons moved into the house. Activity once again stirred up, and they would be woken up in the middle of the night by noises. The Bennett family moved out after just 2 months. This home now is a new family, but how long will they stay? That remains to be seen. This case of poltergeist activity was huge at the time and captivated a whole nation. It remains the most infamous case to this day in the UK. The amount of evidence captured and witnesses seeing what was going on makes it a truly undisputable and remarkable case to me. Definitely a real-life haunting. It had everything: noises, objects moving about and being thrown around, possession, physical effects on the family. Not only that, but unlike most poltergeist activity which seems shy, this happened almost on cue and in front of police, press, TV, and among the best paranormal investigators. It was also used in a mini-series on TV back in 2015, featuring Timothy Spall, and star of the show, Eleanor Worthington Cox, who did some fantastic acting to portray what happened to young Janet. I highly recommend you go and watch this if you haven't done so already. The film Conjuring 2 was also loosely based on this haunting, and most recently, BBC Radio 4 revisited the case, interviewing people involved at the time. Please check it out, I've left a link below. Definitely go and watch it. This case, along with East Drive, remain the most scary and intriguing hauntings in the UK. To happen in normal homes and affecting families in this way really gives me the creeps and brings it closer to home. If this can happen to them, then it could happen to me or you. I get the shivers down my spine just thinking about it. What I would like to say to anyone living at 284 Green Street is please let me know how you're getting on, and if you are having any experiences, strange activities that can't be explained. Maybe you were involved with the Hodgson family back when this took place in the 70s. If so, then please contact me and let me know your version of the events that took place back then. To all the truth seekers out there, what do you believe happened? Do you have any stories of your own? Do you live in a haunted home? Or do you need help to identify what's going on or need advice? Actually, this story has been playing on my mind a lot, and I've even been hearing things and seeing things. I'm still questioning, is it all in my mind or is it actually happening? But I will pursue it and see what's going on. So yeah, I'm here all the time, so do leave a comment or feel free to contact me by email or through Twitter. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. A big thanks to all my friends on social media for your support once again. I really do appreciate it. Before I go, I just want to say, hey, Zach Bagans, Erin Goodwin, Billy Tolley, Jay Wasley, you must come back to the UK again very soon with Ghost Adventures. There are so many great locations to explore here in the UK. Maybe you can check out East Drive in Pontefract, or see if you can investigate Green Street in Enfield. Even so, all of us UK folk want to see you back here in our country, and hopefully see you guys very soon. Right, truth seekers, enjoy the weekend and royal celebrations, and may the sunshine come out for you all. I'll be back very soon, I promise. So, goodbye for now, truth seekers. Have a great weekend.